Hey, everybody. That took a while for us to get live for some reason. Well, anyway, it's Ben and Rob from Edge of Wonder on Rise.tv. Was the CCP's demise predicted in history? Well, China's economy looks to be on the verge of collapse, and the future looks even more grim for the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah. Are they truly on the edge of a catastrophe, which has been prophesied throughout time? Hear the old story predicting Xi Jinping, the party's actions against Taiwan, and how it goes against the will of God in the universe. So this was actually prophesied, and something happened in China that predicted it.
Crazy. Then in Florida this week, Hurricane Idalia is making landfall. Is it just the result of climate change, or is severe weather part of something bigger happening in our world that was foreseen for centuries?
Yeah, could the missing clouds of Neptune be a key element that explains what's happening on Earth? Join us on this Edge of Wonder live as we dive deeper into these topics, plus get some hope when the world seems hopeless by joining the Rise.tv exclusive Q&A and, of course, a meditation/prayer that we do at the end of the show. So we'll see you guys out
on the edge.
And if you're listening to our Edge of Wonder podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or elsewhere, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. And please remember to like, follow, subscribe wherever we are: YouTube, Rumble, Ganjing World, Twitter, Facebook.
In Ben's basement, staring at him awkwardly in a corner, wherever.
Wherever.
How's it going, Ben?
Yeah, pretty good. Been kind of following this hurricane, kind of crazy. Actually, the really crazy part, and look, I'm really not trying to be some crazy
conspiratorial.
Yes, here, but it just so happens right where the hurricane is hitting, like a little north of Tampa, that exact area is where they had a gas problem. And
I mean, I have gas problems all the time, but you're talking about a different kind, I assume, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of talking about a different kind. Yeah, so widespread fuel contamination. So basically all this gas that came through to the ports in right around Tampa were all contaminated, and it affected the entire coast of Florida. And mostly 7-Elevens and a couple other places. I think like the BJ's was like Costco kind of place, their gas, and then Citigo. So, which is really, yeah, I said Citigo. Yeah,
you said Citigo, which is like the Simpsons version of Citgo.
That sounds like a pretty good name, though. Yeah. But anyway, yes. So, this is in actually one of the gas stations that was affected is one of the ones that I usually get gas at in my area, and then I didn't get gas there in the last 2 weeks, and I'm so thankful I didn't.
Well, what happens if the gas gets into your car, dude?
It could destroy your car, your engine.
So it's like, but it's not legit gas then. It's like
it's combined with diesel fuel. So they said it was like contaminated with diesel fuel for whatever reason. And so basically it left a bunch of people stranded if they were planning to drive. And it's like, I don't know, I'm trying not to be super crazy here, but it's like, I mean, after what happened in the Maui, the Maui fires, it's like, what is going on here? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can understand it if it happens somewhere else in parts of Florida, maybe. I mean, I haven't even heard of this before. I mean, it's possible that this happens, a couple different times, but it just so happened that this is exactly where the hurricane is supposed to hit. So it's just the most bizarre thing ever. And yeah, so I found out about it by people sharing it with me, and then some of the gas stations in my area. Well, now a lot of them don't have gas, but the ones I think that were affected have you can't get gas from there right now. So at least they're doing something about it.
But that gas looked expensive over there too.
Yeah, the price went up.
439 gas doing over there.
Yeah,
That's
it wasn't even like that. Yeah, it was like 439 was like uh the premium one, and now it's like it shot up by quite a
weird,
bit.
especially
Yeah.
for Florida. That's weird.
Yeah, that's just what happens when these, people are getting gas, and then everyone yeah, it's a little bit
Is it
nuts.
because of the hurricane that the
Yeah.
gas prices
Oh
surged?
yeah, 100%.
Because
Yeah.
everyone's trying to get out of there, so they
Yeah,
just
everyone's getting gas, getting extra
I
gas,
see.
and most
They
of the
can make money
places.
off of it, so why not make money off of it, I guess.
Exactly. It's so dumb. They should have laws against that. But anyway, so we'll see what happens. Right now there was like it was kind of crazy earlier today. There was really super strong winds. Right now it's just kind of calm, but don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of hours. Supposedly in the middle of the night, this thing is going to hit Tampa area. So we have like a tropical storm warning, but there was a couple tornadoes that were sighted in Naples.
What?
So,
Tornadoes?
Tornadoes. Yeah.
Sure those weren't some like old retirees who just were driving crazy and their cars were spinning out of control?
That could be too, it's
Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah.
You have the Florida.
Lots of great driving in that state. I've driven in some pretty crazy states to drive in, but Florida might take the cake.
Florida is crazy. That is for sure.
It's like you've got the craziest drivers mixed with the slowest drivers in the entire country, and they're all just creating a nightmare on the road, especially in South Florida.
Yeah, that's true. It is true.
But you said something really interesting in the intro, and it was about these clouds on Neptune.
Yeah, so
Like,
this
super
is
interesting.
This is all of Neptune's clouds have mysteriously disappeared, and the sun is to blame. They don't really know exactly why, but they're talking about in this article that the sun is on this 11-year cycle where it's a little bit more active. And this is why, again, it's like we're so focused on like climate change here, but it's like we really need to look at what's going on in the sun and the other planets and how the other planets are being affected, because actually it's not just Earth. All the planets are being affected to some
they're all
degree.
having changes, and it's because of something going on with the sun.
Yep, temperature rising and some of the other planets, and so everyone's freaking out. But it's
it's a very dangerous thing for scientists to come forward about, because it would completely evaporate the ongoing agenda that this has something to do with gas or that's being emitted by cows. Essentially.
Yeah. Or your gas stoves. There was something else that I just was reading that they're trying to take away.
Ceiling fans, dude.
Ceiling fans.
What the
heck?
It's like,
I thought,
like,
really?
Seriously, ceiling fans.
I seriously thought
those really take up energy.
Yeah, I thought it was a being sarcastic or something, or a
that was like straight Babylon Bee headline, and
that's what I thought it was. I seriously satire. That's the word I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
but yeah, dude, it's so insane, and I think like I think that like a while ago, a few years back, or even when we first started Edge of Wonder, I didn't really understand this whole like, okay, like the climate. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's pollution and all these things, but then it's like, as we really get into it, it's like, why are we cracking down on ceiling fans? Like that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And yet, like, these companies producing so much plastic and everything else, it's just like, oh yeah, we will. And then like Bill Gates is talking about how we need to get rid of more trees to get rid of.
But it's the trees that eat the carbon that they're complaining about. So like they require the carbon, or not only do they require it, but they like process it and turn it into oxygen. So like each tree you could calculate as actually consuming a portion of carbon. So if you plant more trees, it's going to get rid of more of the carbon they're concerned about. Just for argument's sake, Why would you get rid of trees? That doesn't make sense to me.
No, not at all. And like, I mean, and we don't know what they're doing with the climate. They could be speeding up. I mean, you got all this weather modification and all these different things that are going on.
Well, we have Chinese seeding clouds.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. 100% legit thing. We've talked about it a couple times on our past shows. That is
cloud seeding
100%
during the
real.
Olympics.
Mhm.
And so there are other countries that have had articles related to these things. So it's like, we know cloud seeding is a thing that other countries are experimenting with as well. And the United States has been throwing weather balloons into the air since the first UFO was ever sighted in the country.
Yeah. Speaking of UFOs in China, actually, that kind of goes somewhat into the next.
Did Xi Jinping finally get abducted?
Unfortunately, not yet. But the NASA chief has now came out and said that he believes that some of the UFOs we are seeing in the skies are probably, quote, unfriendly advanced technology from China.
Oh,
I don't know.
And no way, dude.
I don't know if China could actually.
Yeah, and India went to the moon, and those weren't sus photos at all.
Dude, the more actually after we had our show about the India moon, I started looking at it even more closer. It's so weird.
It's rough, dude. It's rough.
I'm like, I don't know about this. I really don't.
Maybe I don't know. I think we nailed it on the show, though, when we were talking about Bollywood directors being involved in that, because it was way too awkward to be real.
Yeah, I was trying to watch the full video of the launch and everything, and the whole. I still haven't. I'm having a hard time finding the whole thing.
I think politically, though, it really does make sense. You know, not to get into this again. If you guys haven't seen last Friday's show, you should watch if you want, because we really talk about this. But politically, it really does make sense that they would try to appear like they've been to the moon, so that they look like they're a power in the world that can pull something off, right? It would make others around them think twice. Pakistan, China, whoever. So
it's true. I mean, it completely is a power grab, you know?
Right.
Oh, we went to the moon, but I don't know, man. The more I kept looking at it, a lot of things weren't making a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But the problem is the flat earthers are grabbing onto it, and it's like, no, that's not really why. It's not because the world is
so
flat.
Can I ask you a question? Can we get back to Neptune for a second? So do we have any photos of gasless or cloudless Neptune, I should say?
I mean, you would think that they would have photos of this. To be perfectly honest, I think it's just something they're talking about. I don't know if they actually. Yeah, unfortunately, because I really don't think we have any like great photos of, like, NASA didn't release any as far as I know. But I mean, they just discovered it recently. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So this is what we got here. And 2020, it just looks like a orb.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
Nothing.
It literally is just an orb.
Neptune. So the last 20 years. So I guess the point is, it didn't happen overnight. It wasn't like, within a week, all of a sudden. However, within a couple of years, it did happen.
But is it just that the cloud covering is more sort of consistent, or is it that it's disappeared?
It's disappeared. That's what they're saying. Like at least the dense clouds that were usually there are gone. Cloud coverage could be tied to ultraviolet rays the sun emits through the solar system. So then why couldn't that affect in different ways? Because NASA's not smart enough to put that together, I guess. because it doesn't fit the agenda.
Yeah.
Anyway. But I definitely want to follow the story because I know there was some changes on Jupiter as well. I don't know about Saturn, but I do know there was something on Jupiter.
Didn't
And
the big storm on Jupiter, something affected the storm or
yes,
something?
that was it. The big storm on Jupiter. I think one of the smaller planet or moons around Saturn or Jupiter also has been affected. So,
Yeah,
and
there's definitely something going on.
It's possible the moon too has been affected in some regard. So, and it's like, I mean, it just makes sense, if the sun changes ever so slightly in any direction, I mean, it can affect, I mean, the sun is what's keeping the solar system together. So whatever happens to the sun is going to affect the solar system simultaneously. So I just wish that people were a little bit more intelligent about this.
I wish that on so many different subjects right now.
So true. All right. Well, why don't we show a trailer? When we get back, we'll start getting into China's economy, which is insane right now.
Yeah, you guys don't want to miss that for sure.
Have you ever heard of a crematorium with 50 security guards?
So they would hang you up?
As an American who grew up in a free society, their story was hard for me to take in.
That was basically what they learned. They learned how to do this. They got promoted through the system.
Substantial amount of blood was drawn.
You can't wait for somebody to come and get you for your to stop the practice. I mean, by then it's going to be too late.
And that's exactly what happened. What's next?
American people so nice, heart so good. They don't understand the truth.
All the evidence is there. You can see it all on video. Every document is there.
This is very different from the old days when we dealt with the Soviets, because Soviet Union and Americans, United States were completely separated. Now, the enemies are within.
All right, you guys. You can find that over on rise.tv. And we have so many series that Rob and I have done through our Edge of Wonder show. And you can find all those on Rise TV.
All right. So hit me, Ben.
Yeah. Okay. So this is so
weird.
Yeah. And I was shocked by what Biden said the other day. He literally called Biden's economy, probably not much difference than China's economy, honestly, but he called China's economy a ticking time bomb. He actually said that. And right now, the media has been really focused on what's happening with China because there are things happening that have never happened before in the history of the CCP and what's really going on. So right now, the Chinese economy is the worst it's ever been in its history. And get this, I found this. So the China's like GDP, which is like the gross dollar per year, basically. It's all the imports and exports that each country does. They estimated it this year. They were hoping for a 7.5 whatever, and then it went down to 6.3. And the banks, JP Morgan, Bank of America, and one of the other banks even brought that down to 5%.
Yeah.
That means that they do not have faith in the Chinese economy right now.
Yeah.
So one thing everyone's asking is like, how is this possible? What is really going on? And Rob, you could read this actually. Why don't you read this China's man-made unreliable figures? If you see it in the doc here.
Yeah, sure. So, so kind of to start, China's GDP is about 6.3 down from the 7.5.
So they were boasting like, oh, our GDP is 7.5. In reality, it's like 6.3. But as you keep reading, you're going to find out a little bit more here.
Right. So China's GDP figures are man-made and therefore unreliable. The man who's expected to be the country's next head of government said in 2007, according to U.S. diplomatic cables released by WikiLeaks. The cable file wrote, quote, by looking at these three figures, Li Keqiang, head of the Communist Party in northeastern Liaoning province, said he can measure with relative accuracy the speed of economic growth. All other figures, especially GDP statistics, are for reference only, he said, smiling. To make things even worse, all of the major banks lowered their own evaluation of the Chinese economy to only 5%, which is what Ben just said.
Yeah, what I just said. So basically what's really happening is that there's been massive amount of layoffs, a huge amount of unemployment, mostly in youth. So what's happening is that people are buying less in China because the economy is not stable right now. Therefore, factories are making less products.
But it could could it also be that there's not
that
like, yeah, because there's like lots that I'm hearing about.
So yeah, that's what I was going to get into that actually. Right. So I have some numbers and figures to kind of back all of those statistics up. And so, yeah, so, I mean, so on the surface, this is what the CCP is basically saying on the surface. They're like, well, you know, because the economy is not doing so well, people are not buying things. There's been more layoffs. Companies are afraid to hire right now because people aren't buying as much. They're not producing as much. So it's just like really slowing down the economy. Exporting is not as lucrative as it used to be. Importing, same thing. You know, this is the first time ever in the CCP's history that normally their exports are more than their imports, you know, because like they're always
China
making and this is the first time where it's actually the other way around right now. That means that their exports are really, really low. But so Rob, you were talking about the figures, you know, like in China about the numbers, right? How many people could have, like, because we have no idea. That we know that the CCP is lying,
or purposely not tracking things, like not paying attention purposely because it's like they're afraid to.
Well, let me show you, Lindsay. Can you? So I know we're kind of going through different things here. Can you pull up this article? China's heading for another real estate crisis, but it's on a whole different scale than what it's seen before. This is big. Realistically, Wall Street right now is freaking out about China. Like, this is massive. You have one of the biggest real estate companies in China. They manage over $2 trillion of assets just alone in China. They're called Evergrande. That's the name of the company.
Sounds like a Chinese boilerplate name right there.
Yeah, I guess Country Garden is the biggest private sector one, and this is all kind of connected. To give you an idea, China's GDP is 30% of that makes up real estate.
Wow.
So if the real estate market falls in China, the whole economy is going to start crashing down. And what's happened with this company, they've missed 2 payments for their like right now they're in debt.
What does that mean that they've missed 2?
So like imagine a company that's managing $2 trillion of assets. So who knows like how much, you know, this is like, we're talking billions of dollars that they owe each month because they're managing this money. So typically they should be having way more money coming in each month than what's going out. Right now, they missed 2 payments of billions and billions of dollars. So right now, everyone is worried. Everybody who is on Wall Street is in China with the economy, doing real estate, all these different things. if this goes, this is going to start a chain reaction inside China where it's going to destroy the real estate market. It's just going to be a domino effect, in one after another. Each one will start crumbling. And the biggest question is why, right?
Yeah, why is it happening?
Why is it happening? So what do you think, Rob?
I mean, I do. I think it has something to do with the disaster that's going on there right now. I mean, there's 1.3 billion people in China, right?
Yeah, between 1.2, well, 1.2, 1.4.
Whatever.
Let's say it's 1.3, 1.4. Yeah, 1.4. Okay.
Let's say it's 1.4. So you're talking about potentially a third of the country gone.
Yeah.
Or not functioning right now because of whatever. Let's just say not functioning. Like, that is going to hit any economy, dude. Like, that's that's literally 400 million missing people.
Yep.
That are no longer active in purchasing groceries, in purchasing, like drugs, and purchasing any of the stuff that's at stores, furniture, everything. The economy is just going to be affected. They're not purchasing gas. They're not traveling. They're not, I mean, they're no longer engaging in activities with technology. Like, all of these things are going to just be massively, massively affected. So what I think that this is showing us is that these things are starting to catch up to them, and it's they're no longer able to hide it.
Yeah, it's 100% true.
And they're fake numbers. I mean, anyway, it's
all
the
of it's
Communist Party.
Yeah. So to give you an idea, I was talking about that company, Country Garden. So they
sounds like Olive Garden, but China's version. Which is
so they were, at the end of last year, they were $200 billion in debt. Now that might be, that's US dollars. So that's $200 billion in debt as of last year.
That's a lot.
And it's just getting bigger and bigger. So the thing is, we have no idea really how many people have died of COVID in China. And remember, like, things that are going over there are very different from what's happening over here. The lockdowns over there have been so insane that, I mean, imagine being locked in your house. Like, literally, the police come and lock your door and you're in a small apartment and you can't leave. Whether people are dying of COVID or just the fact that they are not getting food or the right medical help or whatever. One thing we do know is that cremation facilities were up by 75% in China.
I think it's a lot more than 75%.
It probably is, especially,
we were talking about like 7,500%.
It could actually well be over that. And if you're looking at so I was looking at the normal death rate is about 10 million deaths per year in China. And even if you're saying, like, you're probably right, it's probably way up more than, and that's just cremations, right? We're not talking about burials. We're not talking about anything else. Or even how the hospitals are potentially disposing the bodies, because the hospitals may even have their own cremations, in these hospitals.
Yeah.
So I mean, we could be talking about, we're easily talking about 50 million deaths easily.
Well, that
could be a conservative way.
Extremely conservative.
Yeah. I mean, we could be talking about,
a couple of months into COVID, there were 40 million cell phone users that had disappeared.
Exactly.
A couple months into COVID.
Yeah.
Never mind now.
And so, of course, the CCP wants to hide these numbers because I mean, really, these are their deaths. These are deaths on their hands. And
also, it's more than that, right?
Right.
The CCP doesn't want to appear weak. Like, the Communist Party by nature will never tell you what's going on because they don't want to appear weak. So if there are people dying over there and COVID is something that they can't control, like, they're trying to beat COVID with the same bat that they try to beat their people for doing political things. You can't do that. It's different. It's not something that you can beat with a bat.
Right. Yeah. And on top of that, I mean, they just haven't their food has been a lot more poor since all this happened.
Yeah.
People haven't, it's just, I mean, morality is down. People are a lot more depressed because they can't leave their homes. They have family members dying that they can't do anything
They
about.
can't see. Yeah.
They can't, it's just,
Never mind. It's already like the saddest place on the planet.
Right.
One of.
Exactly. So, I was looking at all these numbers and figuring this out. Like, why is the housing market going so crazy? Well, if you have a bunch of people, like, let's say you have a population of like 100 million homes in one, because there's a lot of people in China, right? And this could be apartments or all kinds of stuff, right? Let's just say you have 100 million property aspects from homes to apartments and whatever, and you have a lot of people die in that community, in that town. Like, even if you have 10 million people die, let alone like 25, like a quarter of the people that die, all of a sudden you have all these homes that are just empty.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, if you own a home now, your home's going to be worth less because there's so much more homes on the market because all these people have died. And now you can't build a home if you own a company that you rely on construction and building homes, because no one's building any homes. And aside from that, no one has the money to build homes right now. No one wants to spend any money. So your home is worth less. You couldn't sell if you wanted to. And no one wants to buy right now because the economy is just going so horrible that, and people are dying, people are sick. All these different aspects play into it, on top of the counterfeit that has been going on with the banks in China and in the real estate market, like getting loans out. It's like companies were taking loans for construction, but then they were never really completed. They were like started, and then it would just be like a 5-year project. So therefore they wouldn't have to necessarily pay these loans back right away. It's like, oh, this is like a long-term project. Once it's built, then we start paying everything back. And a lot of companies were doing this, and the whole thing is just this massive shady industry. And it's just like, right now, everything's coming out to the surface and starting to crash.
All right. You want to hear something else that's crazy? Yeah. All right. Lindsay, I don't know if you can pull this up, but that picture you pulled up of all of those buildings, like the apartment buildings.
Oh yeah.
Pull that up. Okay. So I'm going to kind of ask you to imagine something. Imagine that the Chinese economy is going great, right? You want to appear strong and vibrant to everyone on the planet. So you're this construction company, you're this realty company or whatever, that you own all of this real estate, right? You want to appear really strong. And so what you do is you start working with construction companies to build all of these buildings that literally have 0 people in them.
Mm-hmm.
No one in some of these buildings. Like, you've built cities where no one is actually there.
Right.
The money runs out. You're 200 billion in the hole, and you have all of these buildings that are crappily made all across China, right? With nobody in them. So they used the money on these construction companies and helped the economy out, made people work. Nobody moved into these, and the money ran out. Like, this is totally adding. It's like the same exact thing that you were saying with the housing market, but imagine it with like these sky-rise buildings and all of that stuff. Like, it's the same thing.
It is. And they're actually starting to destroy some of them now.
Yeah,
because
they're blowing them down.
Yeah, they completely are. So, and according to one of the articles I was reading, right now, China is $23 trillion in debt. And they're hiding it from the world.
Yeah.
So
how much is the America in debt?
More than that, 30 trillion.
Right.
I still don't know who we're in debt to. I don't really quite understand.
Well, we print our own money, so we're in debt to ourselves.
We're in debt to ourselves, I guess. Yeah. But
right.
But we have no problem giving money to
just throw a few 100 billion more to other countries, especially when you have, other parts of our states burning down and stuff.
Yeah, sure. That's all right. I guess they don't matter as much. There's no blackmail there.
It's just crazy.
But yeah, so anyway, the and the mainstream media have been interviewing these China and supposedly experts, Hong Kong finance people that are like, well, yeah, now's the time to buy, everything's down. Like JP Chase is kind of saying this too. Like,
I mean, you're not wrong.
You're not wrong,
but it's going to get a lot more down. That's, I think, what Ben is trying to say.
Right. Because I think they're relying on that because right now everyone's incentive is like, whoa, this doesn't look good. Whatever stock I have, I want to sell it. And that's also what's happening. So China has been trying to cover this up as much as possible, downplay it, because I'm actually shocked by how hard the media is really saying this. I mean, they're literally like, China is on the verge of collapse. Like literally, Forbes even had a headline that was very
done before.
What'd you say?
I said they've never done that before.
No,
they've never been honest about that.
No, and it's being affected all throughout the whole world because how China's economy is so tied to the world. So
you mean it's being felt throughout the whole world?
Yeah, well felt and yeah. I mean, because it's just all one and the same. I mean, China really made it so they're they have such a strong footing, and so many other countries over there or around the world, especially Brazil, that's another one. So if China, this is the thing, if China really collapses, it could potentially cause a ripple effect in a lot of other countries, depending on how much those countries depend on China. But then like you're saying, Rob, so we were talking about the COVID deaths, but then at the same time, like factories, this could be another reason why people aren't buying as much. There's a lot less people in China to spend money, and then on top of that, the people that are left, like people don't want to hire as much. Companies are folding because of all of this, what's happening. I mean, the whole system is so corrupt in China that it's impossible for anything to remain, any like industry to remain. I mean, real estate is the biggest thing, but probably next would be exporting goods and making products and things like that too. So they're
the factory of the world, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
they were anyway.
So it's going to be really, really weird and interesting to see what happens over the next couple months related to
honestly
China.
if the economy collapses that much and we have what appears to be like a Great Depression in China, it's going to be utter chaos for a while.
Yeah, it will probably.
Not here. I mean, over there, obviously.
Over there.
Yeah.
And then of course all these omens and prophecies are been about China for so long, and we're gonna get into these as well. And there's one specifically even directly about Xi Jinping. So, but why don't we play a trailer? We come back, we will talk more about the prophecies of China.
All right, let's do it.
150 years in the making. The ultimate evil specter. Lies, hatred, and struggle. Traditions destroyed. The deep state's cult, communism.
A bacterium infected a flea. A flea hitched a ride on a rat. A rat spread the Black Death to all of Europe. Millions dead, dirty peasants infected. Or is there more to the story? What if our advanced mindset of the future caused us to miss something about the past? What if something tied together every epidemic throughout time? What if people weren't just reacting to plagues, but plagues actually reacted to people? This is the first deep dive of its kind into a part of plagues never before acknowledged. You'll never look at history the same way again.
So let's think about it. What exactly is a plague?
Living in the future, it's easy to look at the people of the past and pass judgment.
But there have been numerous plagues over humanity's history and even until today.
I mean, this type of look at plagues we did might be the kind of deep dive nobody has ever done before on possibly the most covered subject in history.
Plagued, Part 1, When Society Falls. Only on edgeofwonder.tv.
I'm feeling plagued right now by that haircut and your beard.
Beard. We had that on a reel, and everyone was like, "Wait a minute, when was this? Like, did you grow a beard all of a sudden?" I'm like, "No."
They were like, "Ben, when were you Muslim?"
Oh man, we had a couple comments about that.
I'm sure that was an epic beard.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. I'm having trouble watching this clip because I'm so fascinated by your beard.
All right. Okay. Well, we were going to talk about a little bit China's prophecy. Well, actually, one of the things that happened was, this happened last year, was the China sky, turned blood red. Do you remember that when that happened?
I do remember that. That was a hard to forget day.
Yeah, all these people. I can't remember exactly what happened. So a river in China turned blood red, and no one really knew exactly what happened. The official excuse was that it was some toxic chemical from a nearby plant that caused it to turn red. This is just a blood red sky, and there's been prophecies about this too. And Newsweek did a whole fact check actually on this whole thing, and they did find it would be a 100% true that it really did turn red. They mentioned the city directly, and because they compared it with a couple different videos and different Chinese social media and everything else, and the conclusion was yes, it actually did turn red, and so did the river. So
fact check, it did turn red.
It's like, well, thank you for that.
Check. The apocalypse is here.
Yeah, that's really what it should say. It's like, if you're in China, you might want to watch out. It's at the very end of the article, Lindsay. Of course it is. There it is right there. See?
Fact checked. We can't explain this. Run for your life.
Yeah, it's like, true. The sky did appear to turn red. It's like, well, thank you for that. Well, so there's a famous prophecy called 2x2, or the translation is the Iron Plate prophecy, and it was in a book, and I can't remember the exact date when this book came out actually, but Rob, actually, if you want,
it was the 600s actually.
That's what I thought. I couldn't remember, and it talks about the different dynasties throughout China and what happened to them. And it is true. You can actually follow through each dynasty and how they fell, what exactly happened. And the more recent one in the book is actually, right, Rob, why don't you read
the prophecy?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this just starts with this specific more recent prophecy.
Yeah, so the quote from the book is, "The picture is simple. There are 4 blackbirds flying over a valley between 2 mountains. One white bird is killed in midair by the right mountain, its blood splattering the cliff. The white feathered bird dies on the side of the mountain. This picture shows so this guy who's saying this continued, this picture shows 2 things. First, China will be destroyed by a leader who is referred to as the white-feathered bird. Second, this leader will ultimately die for China. He paused for a moment and then said, I've been wondering who the white-feathered bird is. Do you have any idea? I thought for a moment and said, I can't say for sure right now. Let's wait and see. If there is a this side of the mountain, then there must be the other side of the mountain, basically. It's a little awkward, this is translation. So if this side of the mountain refers to the mainland, then does the other side of the mountain refer to Taiwan? Okay, so a little bit further here. She is the 5th generation leader of the CCP. The previous 4 generations, Mao Zedong, Deng Xiaoping, Jiang Zemin, and Hu Jintao, all claimed to want to liberate Taiwan, but they never took any real action. That's why the 4 blackbirds in the picture didn't hit any obstacles when they flew over the Taiwan issue. However, if Xi launches a war across the Taiwan Strait in an attempt to unify the other side of the mountain by force, he will surely bring about his own downfall. The CCP does not have the blessing of heaven to unify Taiwan. This picture is a warning to Xi Jinping that if he wants to save his own life, he should learn from the 4 black birds and fly over the mountains instead of foolishly dying on the side. Dang!
Well, and what's really crazy, so taking this a whole step further, Ganjing World, actually, there was an article published on Ganjing World.
Was it an article or was it a video?
There was an article published. I'm not really sure who wrote it, but it was translated from a all Chinese article. And in 2020, in a special place in China, there was literally there was goose feathers that just fell from the sky without any explanation.
Wait, goose feathers?
Goose feathers.
That's weird.
Yeah. Now, did we lose Rob? Or
no?
Oh, do you still see me?
Yeah. Oh, you're good.
Okay.
You're actually fine on our end.
My screen kind of went weird, so I wasn't sure what happened.
Good.
Okay.
It's just me. I'm weird. Just
okay. So white and feather were mentioned in this story. And what's interesting is that the 2 Chinese characters, when you add the character white and feather together, it's the word Xi, like Xi Jinping.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. And so so they're saying that they believe that this prophecy is coming true after these feathers fell from the sky.
Well, and I mean,
they've
been bolstering like all of their war machine by Taiwan for a long time. If he makes that move, they're so screwed, dude.
No, 100%. And actually, this even goes on in further in saying that if Xi Jinping makes this and he falls, the CCP will no longer survive without Xi Jinping. So if something happens, like basically, from my understanding of what this article is saying, that right now Xi Jinping and the CCP are tied together, that neither one can exist without the other. So if something happens to Xi Jinping, the CCP will fall with it. If the CCP falls, it will bring Xi Jinping down with it.
What I think is so crazy about this is like, Xi Jinping has access to this information and he's
100%.
Probably reading it. Why is he just going to go do that anyway when he knows what all the prophecies are and he is informed about it? Why are you just going to keep going along with this like shabby fate that has been set up,
Right. And to take that, so what Rob was reading was somebody's translation of the Chinese, the original Chinese text. What this is even taking it a step further and saying that the white bird hitting the mountain could be the feathers falling. So it's like this is like its final warning to Xi Jinping, like here's your bird now, like falling down. This is you.
Well, just to pull back for a second, like think about this for a minute. Like, how easy is it to control human beings? Like, probably the easiest thing to do would be to control human beings, because you can just, if you're a divine being or you're God, you could literally just make a couple of things happen and how the dominoes are going to fall and what chain reaction it's going to create to make a person do a certain thing. Because it's like you're looking at everything from the bird's eye view, from like 4D, 5D, infinite D. You know what I mean? And you're like, you just set a couple of things up. So it's like, it'd be so easy to make Xi Jinping do something at this point if he's not going to change his mind.
Like, I mean, it's true. I mean, we have free will, right?
Right.
So it's like he
can decide not to do this.
Yeah, but it really depends on the selfishness that he has. Like, I want more power. I want to do this,
but like, think about it. You're literally a part of the worst thing that's ever happened in history, the most murderous thing that's ever been in history, communism, right? The CCP. And you're just like, you're representing that right now, and you're just going to go down with it. Like you can't detach yourself from that, dude. Like, you're responsible for that. Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. No. It's a terrible way to go down.
Right. Well, and on top of then everything going on, right? All the deaths that are happening, people dying in China, all the persecutions, especially like Falun Gong. He knows about the organ harvesting, about how many people have been killed in China for their beliefs. The one thing he did do, he did put a stop, at least the
corruption.
To some of the corruption, and also to the forced labor. He shut down some of the forced labor camps.
That was at the beginning, though.
That was at the very beginning.
Right.
After that, it was like, then it was like all of a sudden he's like, I'm taking control over everything.
He got on the CCP horse and just kept riding.
He did. Yeah. I mean, he should have already turned over power. I mean, he's in there longer than he should have been.
Right.
Now. So that's why his nickname for some of the Chinese people is Emperor Xi, because he's just basically proclaimed himself Emperor of China, and he won't.
Yeah, he'll forcibly remove anyone that challenges him.
Yeah, he will now. So, and it's like,
I swear every time we talk about Xi Jinping, I get Winnie the Pooh song stuck in my head. It's like playing in my head, and I can't get it to stop. It's bad.
That's so funny. I mean, the thing is, he still has, it's not too late. He still has a potential of doing something good. I mean, if he ends the party, then it's like,
man, come on. That is literally Winnie the Pooh in human form.
That is so funny. That really does.
It's like the basic thing right there.
That is hilarious.
That's pretty funny.
And it's so funny that Winnie the Pooh is banned in China because of this.
Yes.
It's like Winnie the Pooh is the most innocent thing that a kid can watch.
Look at that.
He should just embrace it, honestly.
I know. Yeah, but this comes down to that again. It's like
it does.
It's like this culture that the CCP has is like all or nothing. You cannot criticize them. Everything they do is right. If they make a decision, even if they're wrong, it was the right decision.
You can't appear weak. And I think that's the main thing. It's like, oh, well, Winnie the Pooh's this soft kid's character, But I mean, honestly, if he would have embraced that, it would have been really...
It would have been great for everyone.
He would actually... His popularity would actually rise. If
I know, but it's like, how do you... Yeah. It's sort of like they keep thinking that by putting a certain ex-president, getting a mugshot taken, that it's going to adversely affect him, and then it's like it does the opposite, right?
It's all it's going to do is it's just going to get people to take more action, which is not really what they. Yeah, I mean, they would be better off just leaving Trump alone, to be honest. But.
Yeah, like let him be forgotten.
Let him be forgotten.
Strategy is, but
no matter what your views on that are, I mean, it's just that's the fact of life. The harder you go against.
No, but it's like, dude, it's like the Bud Light example.
Yeah, it is.
Like Bud Light. Whatever happened with Bud Light? I went to a concert a couple of weeks ago, and every single fridge was filled with Bud Light. I swear. Now we're talking about a country music concert. Everybody was drinking beer there. Everybody. It was George Strait, dude. Everybody there had a beer. Not one person had a Bud Light. Not one person. It was all like all of the other beer, but Modelo, like all of these other beers, not one person would pick one up. And it's like, y'all did it to yourself.
Yeah, completely. Well, and also, I mean, like that Oliver Anthony, the guy who has the Richmond, north of Richmond song. It hit number 1 on Billboard charts. It's completely, it's the record labels have no idea how to respond to this. Media is just like, this is like, how did this happen? This is nuts. He just signed $100 million contract the other day with one of the big, I can't remember which record label, but he finally went with one. And I guarantee you the contract in it will say like, I get to keep my music, like my rights to the master copy.
That's the smile of a man who just signed $100 million contract right there.
And it's so it's one of the most inspiring stories I think I've heard in a while, just because it's just like some dude, literally like just ordinary guy.
Literally, that guy represents the American dream.
He does.
Apparently
he really
still
does.
alive somewhere.
And it shows that how powerful social media is. A couple people just shared him, and all of a sudden, like the whole and he's not appealing. The media is trying to make it out like, oh, this guy is a right-wing, guy. But it's like his point is like, he was upset when the Republicans used his song. He's like, I'm singing the song about you guys too,
Yeah.
Like, you're part of the problem as well. It's like, you guys are all in it for yourselves and for the money. It's like, really, this is a song for the people.
Yeah, it's a song for normal Americans outside of politics is what it's for.
It really is.
Yeah.
And every single American can relate to it. And I think that is, again, it's not about sides here. It's just that everyone can relate to it. It's like, we're all being affected by inflation and what's going on in the world. And, I think everyone just really resonated with the song, and it's one of the most amazing stories, but it also shows the power of the people.
Can you pull that picture of him back up for a second?
Actually, yeah, you could even play part of that song.
Ben, I think this guy is trying to encourage you to grow that beard.
That beard. Yeah. It's more, it's like my beard but red.
Yeah. Maybe you should just grow that beard back. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I think someone mentioned the comments that he did this without selling out to the cabal. And it's like, yeah, it's 100% true. He kept it on his own terms, and he was fine. He wasn't rushing to sign a contract or anything.
He was making $40,000 a day, so he could hire an attorney to probably look over the contract. Hopefully,
100% at that point. But and he's like, he doesn't really want to. He's like, I don't really want to play shows because he's like, I'm not in this for the money, and I just really want to like go back and live at my house and just live on a farm, But I think, like, from another perspective, I was thinking about it. I'm like, it's kind of selfish in a way, because he's just really going to inspire so many more people to do something like this. And I think
I don't know.
Hear him.
I don't feel like, I think he's safer if he does that. I think that how many times has fame or money just ruined people throughout history? Like, there's too many examples to count. And I think he's obviously like a good, genuine dude. And I think that he should keep and hold tight onto the values that he developed to be able to create that song. And so if that means living on a farm and living simply, like, I encourage it, I think it's not like, life isn't just about money and, not even sharing your gifts. Like,
well, now he's got this $100 million contract. So it's like, money is not, he doesn't need
not an issue. Like, he can do what he wants, but yeah.
But I mean, like, it sounds like he's sold out, right? It's like, oh my gosh, it's like $100 million contract. But the thing is, at first they were offering him like $10 million contracts. That's what he was, and it was just like, whoa, wait, and I think like this 100 million, it was, and we don't know what the deal is, it could be like, okay, That's
well,
like
the thing is
10
like,
albums or something, you know.
also, think about where did that money come from? What company wants to put up the 100 million, and what are they really after? They're after making a lot of money off of the
They
deal,
are.
right? So it's like you have to know that. Like you have to know that going into that, even that's going to be the case. I mean, the thing is that what the record company can do is market his work for him.
Yes,
so
that's what they'll do,
and that's basically where some of that money is going to go, because not all of that's going to go to him. A lot.
No, it won't. And the only thing is, though, he might be forced to go. That might be in part of the contracts. It's like, okay, we're going to sign this, but you're going to have to go on tour. Yeah,
and I mean, hopefully he look that over, because like these are all things that could affect his life in ways.
I'm sure he was very thorough about it.
I don't know, like these record companies are known for taking advantage of innocent people.
They will 100%.
I know.
Hey Ben, do you know which record company it was he signed with? Because I can't find it.
It was the not EMI, is that it? EMI? I'm trying to remember the big record. EMI, or it's one of the ones that are the three letters. It's one of those. I can't remember. It's like it might be a branch off Columbia or Sony or something like that. But
I don't know. I think that this chicken coop lady said, I disagree. They're after silencing him, and that. I don't know.
I don't think so.
I think they're just after making money.
They're just after making money.
No, which is that cool. Could be the case, but I think
cool in a sense they don't.
Yeah, he wasn't gonna. What if this song didn't go viral? He was just gonna keep doing his bluegrass thing anyway.
True. Well, the other thing is too, I hope that this sparks something in the music industry where they're like, okay, there's a massive market for, like, I guess you could say, quote unquote, conservative content now. So this would blow up if that was the case. I mean, for all that, whether it's movies or songs or music, I mean, there's a massive, gigantic market that is not being tapped into by the mainstream industry right now. That if they would, it would. I mean,
also it's very possible that I don't know this what's the name of the company, BGM or something like that. Okay, we can't find it.
Yeah, I can't find it.
It's more likely that a country music record company in Nashville was the one that signed the contract with him, and so he could like go play with Lainey Wilson and George Strait or something. I don't know, but who knows? Anyway, we probably got to get over to Rise now.
Yeah, you know what? Okay, there's been some. Yeah,
it is true. Chicken Coop Lady saying John Rich did an interview.
Yeah,
and
it is true.
Said he is helping him along, and they both know they're trying to silence him. Maybe they are. It's very true. His song reached a lot of people.
Fortitude Records. Oh yeah. Okay, they're EMI. It is EMI. They are they're like a subsidiary of EMI Music, which EMI is pretty big. So. I don't know. I think, like I said, they're one of maybe Sony or.
Well, hey, everybody at home, do you all have questions for us? We're about to go over to rise.tv, where we're going to answer your questions and then do a live meditation, actually, in prayer. We do that every Tuesday just to kind of like keep sane in this insane world. We have an awesome community over at rise.tv and hundreds of videos over there. If you'd like to support our work, we'd really appreciate that. And for everyone out there watching right now, whether you're on YouTube, Rumble, wherever, we really appreciate y'all watching and hanging out with us. Please subscribe if you haven't. And for those of you who are going to subscribe or are already subscribed, we'll see you over at rise.tv in just a moment.
All right.
When disease strikes humanity, when corruption is on the rise, when darkness descends, how can we find the light? noble governors, honorable caretakers, destructive dictators. Each time a plague hit, the state of the people seemed to determine their fate. What if this were a pattern nobody has ever looked at before? Are people's illnesses tied to their spirits? Does chaos in society reflect chaos in the cosmos? This goes deeper than any history book's look at plagues has ever gone before. Plagued Part 2, Divine Retribution.
Get your questions ready because it's time for our live Q&A session exclusively on Rise.tv.